What's going on, good peeps? It's your main man, Joe Fleetwood, the hustler, and welcome to the Joe Fleetwood podcast. If this is your first time checking out the podcast, make sure you go to www.joefleetwood.net. There you can find all of my social media links. You can also find the link to YouTube so you can watch this podcast at your leisure. You can also find it on anywhere you subscribe to a podcast. While you're over there, make sure you like and subscribe and share. Hit that notification bell so you know when I drop a brand new podcast and anything else. While you're on joefleetwood.net, make sure you check out the merchandise store. You can find the Joe Fleetwood signature hat, as well as this FED hoodie that I've seen to getting so much attention to from when I wear it out in public for obvious reasons, right? Also, while you're there, you'll see at the top of the page, if you're into energy drinks, the W Jitter-Free Energy Drink logo. You can click on that. It'll send you to the website where you can buy W Energy Drink. You can get it in the tub, you can get the package, and you can get it in the can. If you use Joe Fleetwood, you will also get 10% off. Very easy to spell. Fleetwood, like Cadillac, J-O-E in the beginning. Got it? Cool. All right. Now, with today's podcast, it's very, very important that if you are of the younger generation and younger crowd and you're a fan of drill music, that you check this out. Also, since we're going to be going down the road of legal troubles for Lil Durk, let me go ahead and give you a plug real quick. If you need a personal injury attorney, make sure you reach out to Ryan Vanstone. That's if you're in the Michigan area. He is the driving force behind Michigan's fastest growing litigation firm, Vanstone Injury and Law. Known for his relentless dedication to client satisfaction, Ryan has one mission, and that's to transform the personal injury field by putting his clients first every single time. Now, like I said, his firm is in Michigan, and he is a leader in legal tech, delivering unmatched results with his innovative solutions. You can catch Ryan on social media, but you can also visit vanstoneinjury.law to learn more. I'll also put his information in the description. Now, looks like Durk and his team are definitely going to need a lot of legal representation. You got to be hiding under a stone or brick if you have not heard the latest legal troubles for Lil Durk. Now, Durk, whose real name is Durk Bank, has been arrested. He was arrested in Florida, where he was brought up on charges from a 2002 altercation, which potentially was a revenge killing on Quando Rondo for Vaughn at a Los Angeles gas station. Now, the shooting resulted in the death of Rondo's cousin, to make matters even worse. You know, that just goes to show that innocent bystanders are a lot of times the victims in these situations when it comes to these, you know, gang violence in general. Usually somebody who's innocent in all of this, who has no part to play in it, usually ends up as a collateral damage or a victim in situations like this, especially when you're talking about publicly letting off rounds in the public. What general society is that anyway? Now, 5 members of Durk's Chicago-based rap collective, Only the Family, for those who don't know, that's what OTF stands for, have also been arrested, and at least two more arrests may be coming according to court documents that have been filed. Now, Durk was arrested Thursday night in South Florida as he attempted to flee the country, according to FBI. And this has been going on, or talks of this have been just circling the internet, basically, of his attempts in order to flee. Now, FBI agent Sarah Cochran, she put in her affidavit that the OTF members engage in violence, including murder and assault. And basically, the reason that she claims they do this is in order to maintain their status with Durk inside the OTF family. You know what I'm saying? So basically, in order to, be seen relevant within OTF, you got to put in that work. So that's basically what she's saying in her affidavit. Also, other federal court records saying that the shooting stemmed from the November 2020 slaying of OTF rapper King Von, 26, in an Atlanta nightclub after Vaughn and Rondo got into a fight. Now, I know a lot of you may have seen that documentary on King Von. And it's not just the documentary that talks about the type of individual that he was. You have a lot of other interviews out there with people who were surrounded by King Von, and they talk about the way that Von moved to the neighborhood, right? So, and until you see proof, everything's speculation, right? But where there's smoke, there's fire. And Von's reputation seemed to precede him. He always seemed bigger than life when people talked about him. But also when they mentioned Von's name, they were very careful in how they did it because Von had a reputation. And like I said, if you haven't seen that documentary, make sure you go check it out because it will shed some light if you don't know who Von is and the way he moved. It's a YouTube documentary. All you got to do is look it up. I won't put the name out here, but all you got to do is go do your research on it, and it talks about King Von in great detail, right? And when it comes to, there's no glorification of death here. We don't glorify that. It happens. If you in a certain lifestyle, there's a higher probability that it's going to happen. But the last thing we want to do is glorify death because there's nothing good involved in these activities but that or jail time, right? So moving on, like I said, supposedly it came from that altercation where Von and Rondo got into a fight. Now the record says that Rondo, a friend of Rondo's, pulled a gun and shot King Von several times, killing Von, whose real name is Devon Bennett. Had two of the hit singles that Von had that most people know about is Crazy Story and Took It to the O. Authorities say that Durk made it known that he would pay a bounty to anyone who killed Rondo, whose real name is, I don't even know how to say this man's name. Looks like Taquian Bowman. That's what it looks like. And that was, Taquian Bowman. So almost 2 years later, a murder plot quickly came together. And this is all coming from the FBI's agent's affidavit as she goes down the chronological list of events as they take place. And that's one thing you got to know about the feds. And I said this in the podcast with the fellas, is that anytime the feds get you, the feds will let you run your operation unfazed. They won't do anything. And the reason they do that is they continue to build the evidence. They continue to build the case. And what they do is the net starts off broad, and then they start to build that evidence, and the noose starts to get tighter. And by the time they get you, you don't have any wiggle room. So you got one or two options. A, you're going to take that lick on the chin. You're going to do that time. B, you're going to turn fed. And a lot of times, cat turn fed. Because them the only two options you got. Because when they start hitting you with all these various charges and all this time, you finna go sit still. A lot of people are not strong enough to take 20, 30, 40 years behind bars. That's life in some cases. Or life. You know what I'm saying? So them the only two options you got. So typically when the feds get involved, well, it's a wrap. The best thing you can do if you trying to save face is take that lick or accept that the street name rap. And that's the one thing. And to be honest, that ain't even a thing nowadays. Like the code of the streets. But that book is written in pencil because they are erasing it and rewriting it left and right. That's just what it is. So more information on the situation between Durk, King Von, and Rondo. Now, on August 18th, 2022, Durk's associate learned about Rondo that he was going to be staying in Los Angeles. So they got that information that day. So what they did was they hit up DeAndre Wilson, and these are all the members that were involved. DeAndre Wilson, Keith Johnson, David Lindsay, and Aisha Houston. And then there was a fifth unarmed suspect that flew from Chicago to San Diego. Now, once they got to San Diego, they all rented cars, and the funds was provided, according to the affidavit, by Durk. So basically, Durk provided them funds to get from Chicago to San Diego. Once they got there, they were able to rent vehicles. So upon arriving in Los Angeles, the OTF member met Kane Grant, who had flown there. He flew in on a private jet. So Grant, he's known as one of the top OTF associates. He got the man a hotel room, purchased ski masks, and then he obtained 2 luxury sedans. Now, on another site, and I'll go ahead and add that site in the description as well, it actually shows the vehicles that they rented, and then it also shows Rondo in the Cadillac Escalade that he had where he was driving, and then the 2 cars proceeded to follow him. So I'll put that information in the description also. Now, the next day, the group allegedly followed Rondo and Robinson, who is Quando Rondo's cousins, as they drove down in their Cadillac Escalade to Los Angeles marijuana dispensary in West Hollywood. And it was also a clothing store, and then to a gas station across the street from the Beverly Hills Center. Now, there, Houston allegedly parked his car. That's, for those of you who don't know, that's one of the individuals involved in the name that I stated. Allegedly parked the car behind the gas station so Jones, Lindsay, and the other unnamed defendant could ambush Rondo. They got out, they opened fire, and they ended up killing Rondo's cousins, who was standing outside of the Escalade, but missing Rondo in the complete rain of fire. So the individuals they went out, from what I understand, it wasn't even close to him, but they end up hitting the cousin. So after that, the suspects, they all went to In-N-Out Burger, where they discussed the payment with Grant, and then they all flew home, drove back to Chicago, drove back down to San Diego, caught the flight to San Diego, where they would later on pay the undisclosed amount. So that's the majority of the information right now surrounding Durk's case. Now, the sad part about this is Durk is one of the ones who actually made it. You made it out. You win a Grammy. This man has won a Grammy. Now, before this, I had heard Durk's name several times. I heard King Von's name several times. I heard Quando Rondo. Heard of these cats. Heard a couple of these songs, listened to some music. I'm more into a different type of music, you know what I'm saying? Something with a little more lyrical content. But, you know what I mean? I'm a fan of music in general. So I listen to whatever as long as it sounds good and I like it. But this man won a Grammy. So you're doing big things. You made it out. Why would you continue to push that lifestyle? Because now the killings have just become senseless. There ain't no need for it. You came from a situation where you had nothing. Now you got the world in the palm of your hands. You were given the key to the city, supposedly for your work that you were doing in the community. Or I shouldn't even say that, because typically what happens is not the work that you're doing in the community. It's what you have become that is a representative to your community. So you were given the key to the city for that. All of that other stuff should have been, that stuff shouldn't have never made its way to you, business, or the music. There was no time for that at that point. So when we talk about the gang violence, and Chicago has always been known for it, right? Is one of the, especially when it comes to gun violence, not just gang violence, but gun violence. Chicago is probably one of the most well-known cities in America when it comes to gun violence, right? Knowing all of this and knowing the 2 places you most likely to end up is either dead or in prison, why do we continue? Somebody please, and then this to my young folks, and I appreciate the guys who actually go to my YouTube channel, leave comments, put me on, man, put me up on game, help me to understand why is it that once you make it, you continue, instead of pulling all them cats out of there, showing them a different way, why do you continue to perpetuate the lifestyle that is going to end up getting your partners killed? Why do you continue to perpetuate that lifestyle? You've already seen that there's something better. Prior to this situation, or before anything was going down, Von had then booked 2 flights, one to Switzerland, or 3 flights, one to Switzerland, one to Dubai, and another one to Spain. You have the ability to take flights to 3 different countries in order to throw the feds off. But you could also do that at any given point in time in your life. Feds caught you before you could hop that plane to Spain. They got wind that you're getting ready to pop off. Come on, man. How many people that grew up like you have that ability? That's what you should be pushing. That there's a better life than to just be out here running, hollering this gang, and all of this. Because they ain't taking you nowhere. But I tell you what, man, I'm gonna go ahead and throw a plug in here for Chief Keef. What I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna put a link in the description. Check out this story of Chief Keef with the therapist, right? Chief Keef talks about, you know what I'm saying, his fascination with weapons, his fascination with guns, his fascination with crime. You know what that man did in order to change that focus or redirect that energy? Got into paintball, right? So that need in order to carry guns, he transferred that to something positive and started going paintball as a way of therapy to cope with his PTSD when it came to guns. So a better way to channel that energy instead of doing crime and playing with guns, you know what I mean? He goes out, gets a team, they start paintball. So now that's his thing. He go paintball. And honestly, that's a great way to handle business. If there's just a need to play with guns and do something with guns, just go paintball. Because at the end of the day, when you get done paintballing, every single one of y'all get to go home and then come back the next day and do it and run it back. Because Quando Cousin can't run it back. Vaughn can't run it back. None of these cats can run it back. Find another way to channel that energy. Find another way to channel that anger. But we're not just talking about Chicago. Let's just use gang violence in general. What is the purpose at this point? And let's just say you don't see a purpose, right? I take that back. You don't see a way out. You don't see a way to get out. Then what direction are you guys going in? What are you moving towards? Because there's millions of dollars that are being made. Is the purpose just to continue to make millions of dollars off of drugs, murder, and mayhem? Because there's got to be something on the other side of that. Are you getting your people out of a bad situation? Are you buying the neighborhood? Are you rebuilding it back up? You making it safe for your kids? So yeah, hit me up, joe@joefleetwood.net. Also, tell me your thoughts in the comment. It is greatly appreciated. And believe you me, I respond to every single email. I respond to every single comment, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, no matter where it is, man. Let's have a dialogue. If you're in a gang and you got some answers and you just want to talk about it, hit me up. Let's have a conversation, man. I even invite you on the podcast and we can sit down and hash it out. I give you some info, you can give me some info. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot about that lifestyle that I don't know. You know what I mean? There's a perspective or mentality that I'm missing. So help me out, man. For those of you who are listening, man, always come check out the Joe Fleetwood podcast. You all have my social media links, man, and let's just try to figure this out. That's one of the main premises of this podcast, man. I talk about hustling, getting to the money, having a good time, figuring out new ways to get money. And because to me, that's the main purpose of feeding the family, feeding the village, and just taking care of the hood. You know what I mean? Providing information and education. So with that being said, man, thank y'all for joining today's podcast. Once again, this is another short one. It's not the typical hour-long podcast that I usually have, but I'll do some of these short ones every now and then, just as kind of a segue to something bigger, but then also to provide information on, the latest and greatest when it comes to news. So thank you guys for joining in. I appreciate it. Joe Fleetwood podcast, Joe Fleetwood, the hustler, and out.